What's going on, people? Crazy Dee from the Film Review Live channel. It's 420. It's 420. It's 420. It's 420. It's 420. It's 420. Look. For social distancing purposes, each one of y'all gonna have to roll up your own individual. Y'all can't be slapping and passing saliva, pass, puff, pass. You gotta be rolling up your own individual one, putting the smoke in the air. You know what I mean? If you're gonna do that, or you might have to be at home doing your own thing, whatever you're doing through your vape, through your whatever you're doing, through your blunt, whatever you're doing. Just stay safe with it, because it is still social distancing, because we are in the middle of COVID-19 coronavirus. You know what I'm saying? We don't want people being taken out because they couldn't resist 420. You know what I mean? But speaking of 420, she says, Styles, can you get any higher? Fire. Lighters. Off with my lighter. What you gonna be? You gonna come and smoke with me? You can beat the Hennessy, go and have on Coronas. A picture we can own her. I got the marijuana, and all I really want is you to smoke. Make sure that you go over to all of the all of the music sharing sites. They're social. And go over there and download Smoke With Me from the Crazy Dee's Lordland All-Stars page. That's right. Crazy Dee's Lordland All-Stars. Search it. Apple Music, Spotify, all the different music sharing sites. Go there, download that for 420, have it in your library and roll with it forever. You know what I mean? Listen, Tails from the BLKICE, right? Like I said, that's the Tails from the BLKICE are about my 15 years in retail, right? My 15 years in retail in Cleveland, Ohio. Specifically in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, the first southeast side suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, Warrensville Heights, Ohio. Crazy Dee's Music Palace, 15 years in retail, and this is what the stories of the Tails from the BLKICE are all about. And like I said, I've set the room up for you, immaculate inside of the store. My banners flying from the ceilings, my banners all around the walls with posters of music stars, and they were like the icing on the cake, because I was a star when they walked in, because like I said before, I leave women stammer and leave men enamored. Do you understand what I'm saying? So people, this is another one of those cases where I leave women stammer and leave men enamored. A situation where people could not quite get over their envy and jealousy that built up because of that. Because anybody who knows me knows that I'm just a cool dude. You know what I'm saying? I keep it real. Sometimes, when you keep it real, people hate people who keep it real because they cannot keep it real themselves. And this is one of those cases. I have, during this time when I'm producing music at the time, I put out an album called 131 Below by Sean Styles, right? Produced the whole piece, put it out, and I was putting out bona fide, real hip-hop commercials based from out of Crazy Dee's Music Palace, right? So we produced a commercial called what's the store name? You know, it's CDMP. What's the address? 20,000 3 on Harvard Ave. What's the line? Right? So we pushed that. So this was pushing, right? So the Source magazine came to town. You know, this was back in November of 1999. And the Source magazine came to town. And unbeknownst to me, because, you know, the people who were running the retail, the street teams and things, you know, I guess they thought that they were in competition with me, even though we didn't do the same thing, but it had to do with back in the day and producing an artist, and that artist under me actually had a record out, and under them, under their management, that artist didn't and never did. Okay. So this is what this was all about, right? You know, from my perspective, and that's what it was about, though, truthfully, if people tell the truth. But anyway, because one thing that Crazy Dee does is he shows and proves. When he says he can do something, he executes and pulls all the way through and actually executes on what he says he's going to do. And being real makes you a problem and makes people have problems with you. Always remember that, people. So brush that off your shoulders and keep it moving, and you can still be doing things like what we do today. You know what I'm saying? A film review, movies, music, culture, politics, society, podcasts. Anyway, so the Source magazine came to town. They had been around to the retailers. Now, at this time, there was a retailer that was opening up satellite stores, didn't know anything about distribution routes. And I ask people all the time, just in the larger aspect, in the pro-black and the conscious, if you don't know distribution routes around the United States of America, how are you going to distribute food to your people if something happens? That lets you know if you're feckless or if you are actually truly a leader. You need to know these distribution routes. So a person who was truly in retail knew all the distribution routes. You knew Balo in the South. You knew Southwest in the South. You knew Arrow. You knew Galaxy in the North. You knew the different retailers, the different distributors coming from out of California. You need to know all these different regions to be able to truly be a retailer, right? So at this time, there were satellite stores set up to just lock up because my commercials spanned the whole city, right? I'm the only retailer that had commercials going on through the cable outlets, and it was spanning the whole city. So people were coming from long distances to come shop with me. So there was a organization that had somewhat of a distribution situation, and they were trying to, you know, put thorns in my side. Like, remember the last episode I told you about the retail establishment that was up the street from me that Rap-A-Lot was at, and I had to go down there and go get them. Well, they were propped up. As soon as I said, "Sayonara, I'm out to go make movies out west," they soon closed because there was nothing. They were only propped up just to try to be a thorn. I don't know what that is, to try to be a thorn in a person's side. You know, I don't know what that's like because I was always who I was. You know, coming from out the DJ trenches, doing hip hop, and to own my own store, but knowing all types of music: jazz, blues, reggae, R&B, you name it, gospel. You know, all of it, right? So anyway, Source magazine came to town, and unbeknownst to me, they weren't going to make the call. But see, they were sitting. Now remember, I said my commercials ranged all around the city. So they were down at a hotel, the Hilton, I believe, downtown. And my commercial came across the television. What's the store name? You know, it's CDMP. What's the address? 20,000 3 on Harvard Ave. What's the line? 21651. Anyway, we can't get a line out, you know. But anyway, look, because that line is long gone, so we can't say that anymore. But so that there, so he picked up the phone. He called 216-561, and then, you know, we can't say the rest. He called and said, "Hey, you're retail, but you're not on our run. I said, I wonder why. He said, where are you? And I told him exactly where it was. He said, I said, we're on Harvard Avenue. You know, so where are you? Downtown? Okay, you just take this freeway, jump off here, and go down. He said, I'm gonna get the street team. We're gonna be there tomorrow. Now I always tell people that you have to be prepared. You have to have your bios, you have to have your CDs fully packaged up, not in the slim cases, but in the jewel case with the poly wrap. And we had the poly wrap, the first poly wrap that came out with the cigarette pull on the cellophane, right? And so we had all that and we were set up, right? And I called all my people. I said, okay, they're gonna be here tomorrow at this time. I need y'all to come up here, be ready to do this, right? So I always said preparation plus opportunity brings success, right? So all my people were up there and they were ready. And Source came through the door. The photographer took pictures and the guy wrote the article. This is in the November 1999 issue of the Source magazine, where they put the spotlight on Cleveland, Ohio. And, you know, on the cover is Mos Def, or Q-Tip, or Pharaoh Munch, right? And it's a green cover, green color on the cover, and that's what it is, right? So they had two different covers, and those were the different people who were on the cover, right? So he comes in, he gets the interview, we lay it out, I give him the bio, I have everything laid out. Now, there was a person that I had brought on that had been out on the road before, right? And this is how you know what people are and if they have understanding. And I'll tell a story about this person in future episodes of Tails from the Black Ice, right? But anyway, so he starts talking about his time out on the road, and I could tell that the reporter who was writing down everything was pretty much writing it down, but it was about Crazy Dee's Music Palace and the Crazy Dee's music label and the Sean Styles album and the mix release that I had out from another DJ that was part of the crew. And so when the article came out, there was nothing in there about what the dude talked about his previous time. Because if you talk about previous time, but you didn't hit and you flopped and nobody knew your name, then there was no need to talk about it. And that's why it's always forward. Business is always forward in entertainment. And the only time you get to talk about successes is if they were successes. But if the only time you get to talk about what you did is if it's a success, not if it's a failure, because no one knew you then and no one would know you later. And so move on. So his name was listed as one of the group members, one of the posse. I just say posse, an old 1980s term, but crew, one of the crew. And it featured and it talked about the Crazy Dee story. Now, there were a lot of retailers written up in the magazine, but we were the only one that got an actual crew photograph. And that crew photograph is in that November issue of 1999, Source, the Source magazine, right? Because preparation plus opportunity equals success. And we had a nice write-up on there, and you can see that I have that posted on my sites too. So that just goes to show you that in the time, it's one thing that people always need to understand about not slipping on the black ice, right? The one thing that you always have to remember is it's not what you did yesterday, only if it's a success that you build upon it for the future, right? And so what people need to realize is you're only young for so long, and then you're old. But if you're a person who has pushed success all the way through, then you can build upon that foundation. And that's what it is. So people, that is an example of a success, and you can see that issue, November 1999, Source magazine, Tails from the Black Ice.